Efforts to find Ani have turned up few clues. During Christmas week of 2008, Wendell Walsh visited Hong Kong to look for his girlfriend. He met a group of local volunteers, all of whom have never met Ani, and they handed out flyers in TST and Causeway Bay. Ani's sister, Ani Ashekian, visited in January and again in May. 8 months after Ani Ashekian's disappearance, the local volunteers attempt to keep hopes alive and struggle to understand how a tourist could simply vanish in Hong Kong.
You know, this is our town. We all love Hong Kong for our own reasons, but it's most importantly because it's a safe city.
And that's a piece of information that seems to have got everybody's attention when we talk to them, but everybody says that doesn't happen here. Everyone from the police to anyone I've talked to, it doesn't happen in Hong Kong. People don't go missing here. Tourists don't go missing here.
The last publicized case of a missing tourist was in April 2002. It involved a 55-year-old British man, Michael Gilbert, who before his disappearance told friends he would walk from his Moi Wo hotel to Discovery Bay. But while the Gilbert case would at least suggest a hiking accident, the clues in Ani Ashekian's disappearance are even more puzzling. First and foremost, the Immigration Department has no record of Ani Ashekian having ever left Hong Kong. None of her belongings have ever been found. There has been no communication from her since November 11th. Her last email communication was on November 5th. As for her mobile phone carrier in Canada, those records were purged after 3 months. We know Ani Ashekian planned to visit India and also wanted to move to Argentina, but according to her family, information from the Canadian consulate in Hong Kong indicates Ani Ashekian never applied for an entry visa to either of those countries. The possibility that Ani Ashekian may have been a victim of a violent crime would seem at odds with Hong Kong's reputation as a safe city.
We looked at the situation that she'd been possibly murdered. Last year there was 36 murders in Hong Kong, and of those about 4 or 5 were committed by the same person. Hong Kong is probably the safest place in the world to live, right, and the best policed.
Adding to the mystery is a pair of unverifiable sightings that would put Ani Ashekian in Hong Kong more than 3 weeks after she last contacted friends or family. Luke Pierce, a 19-year-old British student, says he spoke to someone fitting Ani's description in Causeway Bay. The woman was lost and seeking directions to the IKEA furniture store. Search volunteer Preston Powell describes that encounter.
We're right here on Kingston Street in Causeway Bay, where one of our first volunteer leaders, Luke, was walking one day, and he was accosted by a young woman who asked him, "Do you know where the IKEA is?" And he said, "Yeah, you're very close. It's just 1 block over." And she said, "Well, I've been looking around all morning. I can't really find it." And then so he walked her around the block and then showed her on her way. And then at that point in the next block over, she said, "Oh yeah, I know where we are." And he said, "Thanks." And didn't really think much of it until a couple weeks later.
In another sighting, an eyewitness told a private investigator he met someone fitting Ani's description in Wan Chai around Christmas time. The witness claims the woman spoke with a Canadian accent and identified herself as Ani.
We've had a few reported sightings. The thing is with Ani that she is Armenian Lebanese mix. So she looks South Asian, Southeast Asian. She has an Indian looking complexion, and it may be that there are many people who do look like her here.
Both sightings, if verified, would add weeks to the timeline of Ani Ashekian's known movements in Hong Kong, and yet the sightings would seem at odds with the evidence we know to be true. Hong Kong is an expensive place for any tourist, and Ani Ashekian's last ATM withdrawal was for $2,800 on November 10th. To continue watching, please click on the link below.